Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today's honored guest is Joanna Moore. Joanna began her professional career as a music teacher upon graduating from Auburn University. After moving to Southern California, she became interested in the insurance field and started as a claims professional trainee with Mercury Insurance. Joanna advanced quickly in the company from her early years as a claims representative to become the chief claims officer, first female, and senior vice president, where she oversaw more than 2,000 employees in 13 states. Joanna was also the first female spokesperson on Mercury's initial TV advertising campaign, appearing in numerous TV commercials and in print media advertisements. In August of 2013, after 34 years in the insurance industry, Joanna retired from Mercury Insurance and started the Women's Leadership Program at California State University in Fullerton, as well as her own consulting business, J. Moore Consulting Services. Joanna offers the legal community and the property casualty insurance industry claim process reviews and insurance expert witness services. Joanna also holds a master's degree in legal studies from Pepperdine Caruso School of Law. Joanna also holds a master's degree. She also sits in the advisory board of the Women's Leadership Program at California State University, Fullerton, the advisory board of Women's Leadership Institute at Auburn University, and the advisory board of the Center for Insurance and Risk Management at Cal State University, Fullerton. She and her husband have 4 children and 8 grandchildren. Wow. Joanna, you've done some amazing things. Tell us a little bit about that.
When I listen to you, it sounds like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of work.
Yes, it is a lot of work and a lot of perseverance and the great, perfect mindset to be able to pull it off, to be able to climb through the ranks in the insurance company so quick. Tell us a little bit about that, how you made the switch from a music teacher to insurance, and then that journey to be able to climb. What does it take for a person to be able to excel like you did?
Yeah, thank you for asking me that question, because one of the things that I've learned over my entire career is that it's so important to be able to pivot when things don't go as planned. So, for example, when I graduated from Auburn, it was my intention to become a music teacher, and that was my goal. And I taught school in a small town in Georgia, and I did that for a year. And my husband and I were dating, and he got a job offer at California State University, Long Beach. He's a university professor. So after my first year of teaching music, we decided to marry and move to California. Well, I planned to continue my teaching music here, but for those of you who are listening who have lived in California a while, you understand how the budget at the state impacts teachers. So during that time, there were really no opportunities for hiring art or music teachers because the school budget had been negatively impacted. So I really couldn't find a job. So I was really struggling with what to do. So I went to a staffing agency who assigned me to work at Mercury. And I didn't know anything about the insurance business, never imagined that I would become a claims professional, much less a female chief claims officer with a publicly held corporation. And so that was the first time I really started to figure out I need to embrace whatever comes my way and not think that, oh, my career's over, there's nothing left. So I made the transition, and interestingly enough, I loved working for the insurance business. One thing that attracted me to the insurance business, and I know many insurance companies get a, a bad rap because people, perceive them in the public as having sort of a negative reputation. But what I
Mhm.
saw inside the company, especially working for Mercury, is that I had an opportunity to be of service. And that is one thing that I love to do. I've been a hospice volunteer during my time, here in California. And what I saw at Mercury and what I saw the opportunity for me to do is to try to solve problems for people who have had serious homeowner issues with claims, serious automobile accidents. And when I first started and got myself, trained and very
Mhm.
familiar with what was going on in the claims arena, I realized that people just really need help putting their lives back together. So
Mhm.
that's what attracted me to working in the industry, and that's why I continued to do it for another 34 years after I started that transition from becoming a music teacher. And I told myself, I wasn't um, letting my music completely go because
Mhm.
I still kept it as a hobby, and I, love, playing the piano and singing. I was in a show choir at Auburn, so I still kept those kinds of hobbies. But the insurance industry then became my career. And Mercury was the example of a company, especially when I started. There were not a lot of females who were business executives in the insurance
Mhm.
industry. Historically, it had been sort of run by men. And
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
fortunate that at Mercury, the men who were above me gave me an opportunity to prove myself and to become an executive leader. And that's one thing I want to say here today is that I give a lot of credit to the men who were coming before me that really saw something in me that I probably didn't even see in myself at the time. And I didn't have a business background. I had a music background,
Mhm.
but they mentored me. They steered me in the direction that I needed to go. They helped me develop as a leader, as a person who has an interest in helping people and doing the right thing. And I will be so forever grateful for those opportunities. Even the president of the company, when I became the chief claims officer, was one of my mentors. And I don't know if any of your listeners today know about Mercury and how it was founded in 1962, but the owner and the current chairman of the board, George Joseph, who's now 103,
Mhm.
he also believed in me and gave me opportunities that I would have not imagined. And today we have transitioned, I think, to a better place for females. And now females have the opportunity to help other females. And so that has been sort of what I feel called to do now since I've retired from Mercury. I want to see other young women be able to have the skills and tools that I really had to learn on the job, and have them be able to learn those tools and those skills going through, for example, Cal State Fullerton, the Women's
Mhm.
Leadership Program, which I started, so that women can help other women. It's really a strong passion of mine.
Wow, that is an amazing story. So the question is, there's many people that work in claims or just any other job in the position that they have. But what does it take to be able to say, okay, I want to excel and actually move up and be able to become, get in a leadership position like you did, and be able to lead your group of your team in the right direction, because you can become complacent and just do your job every day. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you have a job and you pay your bills, and maybe you don't have the aspirations to climb the ladder. But let's just say somebody who does, what does it take to be able to do that and get noticed?
Yeah. I think one of the most important things is to find someone within the company, maybe your supervisor, maybe your manager, someone that you look up to, that you can have build a work relationship with, and you can start to look at that person and say, okay, what kind of communication skills do they have when they're talking with people on the phone, or they're talking with their coworkers, or their adjusters who work under them, trying to give them either positive feedback or feedback on how to improve, and trying to figure out and talk to that person about how they can also learn those skills. And it may be taking a particular class on uh, better communication skills. There are so many things on LinkedIn, for example, that will give you tips on how to become a better communicator. One of the things I remember when I was first promoted to an executive is that even one of the females in the company said, "Oh, she'll never make it. She's way too nice."
Mm,
And you can be nice and be a great leader. You don't have to, slam your fist on the table, uh, do anything mean to people to be effective. You can be
right.
nice and learn how to be a great communicator. So I would say look at someone in the company that you want to emulate, that has those kind of qualities, and then start to develop a relationship with them. And if you have trouble, I know that I've seen some women come through the women's leadership program that are very shy. They're very timid and they have trouble, speaking out, or maybe disagreeing with something they see in the workplace. And there are opportunities for those women to take classes or join Toastmasters, for example,
Right,
to
right.
become a better spokesperson, and to figure out, okay, how can I share my voice and do it in a calm, friendly way, but let people know that I have a disagreement and that I want to voice a different opinion. Because I think I've seen over my career that sometimes women particularly have some trouble in speaking up.
Hmm. Yeah, no, no, that's true. You got to be able to speak up, because some of the things that you might need to say might be important, make some positive changes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now as you climb the ladder, now some people, or I would say maybe most people, if it's safe to say, are camera shy, right?
Hmm.
So now you become the spokesperson. What
Yes.
was that like? What was that feeling like the first time you came out in front of the camera? Tell us a little bit about that, and maybe there was some fear and some nervousness, and how you overcame it and became, say, fluent in front of the
Yeah.
camera.
That is a really great question, because I think my background in my music career, this is why I think, sometimes the universe gives you what the tools that you need, and you don't know how
Mhm.
it's going to work. But
Right.
when I was asked to be the spokesperson for Mercury's TV commercials, and Mercury had not advertised on TV before this, I really looked back on my time being in the show choir at Auburn University, because you
Mhm.
had to perform. It was a performance. And I look back on what I had learned during that period of time, and I took that with me into doing the
Mhm.
commercials for Mercury. And I feel like it was such a great experience. And I even had the opportunity to make a commercial with one of my children. We were in a convertible
Mhm.
being pulled on a flatbed tow truck, and I got to point to her and say she was sort of being the teen driver. And I got to point to her and say something about the precious cargo. That's one of the phrases I remember. And it
Mhm.
was a great experience. And so I think that the background I had being a performer in a show choir gave me a little bit of an edge of the people that they were looking at.
Mhm.
And I think I did a great job for the company. And hopefully that after that, Mercury really started growing and started expanding our business. And like I said, by the time I left, Mercury was a homegrown California company for many, many years. And by the
Mhm.
time I left the company, they were operating, in 13 states.
Wow. Yeah. That sometimes the things that we learn along the way, we never know how they're going to be and end up being used in the future, right?
Right.
Like you said in the beginning, you have to be able to pivot. And as we pivot, some of the skills that we learn kind of like, wow, I never thought I was going to be using this today in whatever you're doing. And interesting how music and being able to perform in front of people gave you kind of the comfort to be able to perform in front of a camera.
Yeah. And it's still that way today with building my own business as an expert witness. Many people know in the courtroom, it's a matter of, performing and explaining yourself and getting your point across to people who are listening, whether it's the judge, the jury, the arbitrator.
Mhm.
And so those same skills are coming into play for me now.
Yes, very true. Important in court when it's the person that's able to tell the story and be convincing enough that usually is heard the most.
Yes.
And then so in the women's leadership group that you started, what does it look like for somebody, a woman who comes to you and joins the group, and what does the path look like for her over time and the results that they're looking for, and how do you achieve those?
Yes, you know what? I want to say a little bit about how this got started because once I retired from Mercury, the dean at the College of Business and Economics at Cal State Fullerton had some money that was donated by a professor that had retired. And it was her desire that the College of Business and Economics start specifically a women's leadership program, and so she funded the initial startup for us to begin in 2015. And so I was asked because of my executive leadership at Mercury, and I already had a relationship with the Center for Insurance Studies and Risk Management there, to start this women's leadership program. So I developed a curriculum which has been revised over the last 10 or 11 years to accommodate more women that apply. You have to apply, you have to be accepted, and we have several different events that are held throughout the school year to help them learn the skills needed to build their leadership skills. And so, for example, one might be communication
Mm-hmm.
in the workplace. Another one might be how to work with negotiating your salary, how to find your own voice, as I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not funded by the state. We are self-funded, so we are funded by donations. And that's one thing I'll probably do if someone reaches out to me. I would be happy to give them the information on how to make a philanthropic donation to this
Mm-hmm.
program, because in
Mm-hmm.
order to keep it going, we need people who are willing to help these young women. So, for example, we have about maybe 6 events a year. And one of the other unique things about the program that I started is that the young women have the opportunity to work with executive coaches. And that's one thing that I found helped me tremendously when I would hit little road bumps at Mercury. And Mercury eventually started sponsoring executive coaches for their executive
Hmm.
team. But when I first started doing it, I was paying for it on my own because I wanted self-development, and I wanted to make sure that the projects that I was working on, you know, met the need that the company had and that I was doing my best. So I hired my own executive coach. And I found it so helpful bouncing things off people. So that's one thing I did for these young women when we first started, is
Hmm.
that the women had an opportunity to work one-on-one with an executive coach. And I'm really proud to say that the program is still going strong after 10
Hmm.
years. Dr. Lori Muse is now the director of the program at Cal
Hmm.
State Fullerton, and she's doing a fabulous job. And I think we have alumni that come back every year and talk about how the program has helped them move up within their own companies. We also offer networking opportunities, keynote speakers, various other training workshops. So it's just been I think, a great privilege to be involved with the program and to see it
Hmm.
flourish.
No, that's amazing because, yeah, many times, people, women and men and everybody, right? Everybody who's trying to improve themselves, who's trying to become better, get a better position, lead better, become better leaders. You just don't know what to do because, yeah, you can go to college, but you actually need somebody to maybe not necessarily hold your hand, but to provide that guidance step by step along the way. As you learn more, you need more guidance so that you just become better at it.
Yes, exactly. And the program is called the Women's Leadership Program because of the initial donation, but it's open to men and women. So we have a few men that have, come in along the way. The
Hmm.
majority have been women. But yeah, it's great that it's still going strong.
No, that's good that you bring it up in case if any men are listening and are saying, "Hey, what can I do to improve my career, to become a better speaker, to look for better guidance?" It's there, right, available to them.
Yes, exactly.
So Joanna, as we wrap up our interview, what do the next 6 to 12 months look like? What's exciting in the pipeline?
That's a great question. I love what I do now, which is expert witness work and claims consulting, because it has given me the opportunity to really keep my, brain in the game, so to speak.
Hmm.
And now that I've been doing this for about 10 years, I take about 10 cases a year. I really try to keep it part-time. But this last year was extremely busy. In the last 2 years, I probably had 4 trials. In 2024, I think I had 13 depositions. So it's been very busy. So I would say the next 6 to 12 months, I want to continue doing what I'm doing, and I want to focus my efforts on, as a volunteer on the Women's Leadership Advisory Board, continue to doing that. But um, I don't want my expert witness work to become sort of my life and it become a full-time job. And my husband and I really like to spend time with our grandchildren. So that's one thing I'm doing. I'm actually leaving on Sunday to go on a little vacation to our vacation home out of state, which is the
Hmm.
state I was born in. And we'll spend 2 months there and just hang out with family, visit with the grandchildren, uh, ride the pontoon boat on the lake,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
with a jet ski. And that's my plan.
Right. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That sounds like a whole lot of fun. So
Yeah,
two
yeah,
months of doing that playing on the water. Yeah,
yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah. And with the 8 grandkids that you have, I'm sure it's every moment with them is precious.
Yes. The older ones are in law enforcement. They're in their 20s, and the youngest one is not even 3. So there's just a lot of things to do.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just having family around, it's like at the end of the day, you know. That's what we do this for, right? We work for that to be able to have good times with our family.
Exactly.
Well, Joanne, congratulations on all your accomplishments. They just seem to come back and help everybody else. So being able to excel and then come back and help others is amazing. Is an amazing thing. Now, if somebody's listening to us and they'd like to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yes. You can just email me. It's Joanna, Joanna, at jmoore, Moore, consultingservices.com. That's my business email address. So feel free to contact me if you're interested in anything that we've talked about today. Just feel free to email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Well, thank you so much for that, Joanna, and thank you for coming on our show. And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel. Thank you,
Thank you for
Joanna.
having me. I really appreciate being here.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.